Hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. I'm your host, Robin Hackney, and I'm so happy that you're here. This podcast is a place for conversations about balancing a healthy lifestyle and being happy, more specifically, happy hour. Together, we'll explore all things wellness and wine. I hope you learn a little, laugh a lot, and along the way, know you're not alone on this balanced wellness journey. Ready to jump in? Pour something in your glass that makes you happy because it's time for Spandex and Wine. Today's guest, Cindy Reynolds, is the owner of Somerset Ridge Vineyard and Winery, one of the most well-known and successful wineries in the Midwest. Upon visiting, you might see Cindy giving tastings, mingling with customers, or getting her hands dirty in the vines. She is passionate about her work and equally passionate about her health and wellness. She fits the profile perfectly for the Spandex and Wine podcast. I give you Cindy Reynolds. Well, hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast, Cindy. I'm so happy to have you here. I know you're a really busy woman, so I'm thankful to have you.
It is my pleasure. Anybody with a podcast titled Spandex and Wine is, I got to be related to them probably, so we're family.
Well, and you fit the profile just perfectly. I can't wait to dive into a conversation with you. In fact, I don't know if you remember how we met, but I was teaching a Vinyasa yoga class and you were taking the class. And you had told me at that time that you were going to open a winery, but I believe you're a few years out because you had just planted the vines or they were a couple of years young. I don't remember exactly, but it's so fascinating to me.
I remember, and it was a great yoga class. I don't get to do as much yoga as I like, but I remember that day, and it was really terrific. So, we started planting the vineyard in 1998, and I think that it was early 2000s when I took that class with you.
Okay, that sounds about right. Wow. I mean, that is such a process. Talk about patience. Oh my gosh, you have to be so patient in this industry.
You do. You have to be patient. It's kind of the hurry up and wait game. You think about the idea, you set the plan. Maybe you need to buy ground. You need to certainly be able to order rootstock a year in advance. I mean, it takes a lot of planning to get there. And then once you've planted the vines, it's 3 to 4 years before you take your first harvest. So Sometimes people will ask, well, how did you all learn to make wine and what was the process? Well, there's so much time in the waiting before you take the first crop. That's when you are reading every book. You're traveling to vineyards and wineries everywhere you can possibly go, taking winemaking classes, things like that. So there's time to learn in between, when you first start planting the vineyard and when you're ready to make wine.
Yeah. Sounds like very hands-on and in the moment. Would you just take us back and tell us the story of the winery?
Sure. Both my husband and I we're like normal business people. We both had jobs and the deal, I was on a plane too much, but I still loved what I did. My husband was a trial attorney. He's still a licensed attorney, but he doesn't officially practice. He luckily he has all that knowledge, to be able to help us. Because it turns out in the wine world, when you're dealing with alcohol and all the special taxation and reporting that you have to do, man, it's good to have an attorney on your team.
Yeah.
But anyway, he really, while I loved what I did for a living, Dennis did not. He really did not enjoy it. And that's one of those, I think, lessons in life. Just because you're good at something does not necessarily mean that it makes you intrinsically happy.
Very
true. And I can tell you it did not make him happy. He had excellent results for his client. He helped support our family. He was great. But, before a trial, he wouldn't sleep for 3 or 4 days because it was just so intense. And so I don't, being in constant conflict wasn't his favorite thing. So he likes to say, a bad day in the vineyard's way better than a good day in the courtroom.
I love that.
So yeah. So this, with that said, I think because he did not love what he was doing, and the fact that he and I waited 7 years before we decided it was time to have a family, that, you forget that you have $1 left over, when you don't have kids and you're doing
Yeah.
all that stuff. So we would travel. We would go to different wine producing regions. We loved it. And so, well, and really we continued that travel in the vineyards even once we had both our kids. And sure enough, they both turned out to be winemakers. But but we would travel and do all this stuff. And I think that's where he first got the idea, because it did very clearly come from him. And his parents were getting ready to retire and had said, a very small remote comment about maybe getting back to their early agricultural roots from when they were growing up, and looking for some property. And Dennis told them, you know what, sit tight. We might have an idea or two. And so this particular piece of property became available in the early mid 90s. And on rocky, slaty hillside, not 30 minutes from our home. And it just seemed like an ideal spot. The real key thing is that there had been no chemicals put on the ground by the previous owner. And that's a big deal. That was a big deal for us. Yeah, because land can come back from that, but it takes a good amount of time. And we already were like, oh my gosh, TikTok, time is passing. We got to plant these vines and get going. So we didn't want to have to take another 6 years, 5-6 years, let the land heal from chemicals. So the fact that this was pristine grassland was perfect.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And Somerset has such an amazing atmosphere, and you have so many fun things going on.
Aww.
Tell me about, from the very beginning, I can tell that you already envisioned it. Everything was already probably planned out in your head, but you made everything happen. Tell me about that process.
We didn't know what it was going to be like. In fact, I wish I could just tell you that we had it all figured out. The original idea, we were just going to grow the grapes and make the wine, and then all we were going to do is sell it to retail liquor stores.
Oh, interesting.
But what happened was we planted the vines, and holy hell, people just started showing up. Yeah. They saw the vines from the road and started pulling in. And, these things were, not a year old, and they were like, okay, hey, we're here to buy wine. It never ever occurred to us that we were going to be in the hospitality business.
Wow.
Had no idea.
Oh my gosh. It's a, if you build it, they will come kind of thing.
If you build it, they will come kind of thing. And then we realized, well, because the first year we had something I think it was maybe 75 cases. And I thought, oh my gosh, 75 cases. How are we going to sell this? What's going to happen? And we went to meet with the first retail liquor store that we wanted to call on, our favorite liquor store, where we would buy and collect wine from. And we had a meeting with Harry Lucas at Lucas Liquor. And I probably drone on and on about how fantastic and what we did. And here's what we've got. And we've got these, I think at the time we started with 4 varieties. And he said, okay, good. Yeah, I'll take it. And I just said, okay, would you like, a case of each? And he goes, no, I'll take all of it. And I was like, wait, what? Oh. It just took us, 4 years to produce these first 75 cases. And in 10 minutes, he took it all.
Oh my gosh, that is great.
Yeah, well, it is great, but I was like, oh my God, should I sell it all to him? What am I going to do with everyone else? And then I realized, no, sell it all. Be done. Do it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is wonderful. And from there, now you have wine club options. You have all kinds of fun events at the vineyard.
Oh, thank you. We really do love that. And even though it's a part of the business that we didn't anticipate or expect, it really does turn out that we are in more of the hospitality and almost like what I'd say is an agritourism kind of business. Because the vines grow right there, we can offer an experience for people. And, even though we're only, say, 30 minutes outside of Kansas City, in the Midwest, we're several generations back from when people were growing grapes and making wine here in the Midwest. So to people, a lot of people, it still seems a little bit new, something they didn't know too much about. But before Prohibition, almost 90% of the wine in the United States was grown and made in Missouri and eastern Kansas. And they know that from all the tax reports. And then imagine all the stuff that didn't go through the tax reports.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that was back in the day. So Kansas was really the first state in the country to go through Prohibition. So all those original vineyards and all those vines got yanked and pulled out. Only a few vineyards survived, and they used that kind of they did the religious exemption, like they're just wine for church. So that's how they managed to stay. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Well, you're definitely one of the most well-known and successful wineries that I know in Kansas. So congratulations to you. You've done a phenomenal job.
Oh, thank you. Well, we love it. You've been always very nice to stop by, and in fact, your son Jake, who we consider a superstar, who is now like a brilliant, EMT fireman hero kind of dude, has worked in our vineyard. It's been some time back, but boy, what a good young man you raised.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was actually going to comment on that you made a love connection for our family. You helped make that happen.
We did.
Yes, when Jake was working there, my now daughter-in-law was working there as well. And he just brought her home one day and she met my other son, and now they're married, have a child, and it's just fabulous. So thank you.
It is just fabulous. That's right. Oh, well, that's good.
It would be fun to see if there were other love connections that have happened out there, like over Valentine's, to see if there's something kind of fun that Somerset was involved in.
We have numerous couples and already married, and we have another couple that both met. They met at the winery that are engaged. I mean, we've got numerous stories, numerous.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we had talked about at the very beginning how people don't understand exactly the process. And I know it's probably a lot more to it than even I know, but would you just take us through like the typical steps of a bottle of wine?
Well, sure. So let's kind of cover that timeline. There's the planting of the vineyard, the planting of those first vines. Then there is growing the grapes, taking that first harvest 3 to 4 years later. But once the grapes are harvested, numerous things can happen, depending on whether it's a white wine, a rosé, a red, whether it's brandy fortified, whether it's aged in oak, or it's made in stainless steel. So there's numerous steps, options along the way. But the way, I'm going to give you an example. We've got this new wine that I think is so interesting. There's a great a family of grape variety called Chardonnay. Many people had a lot of glasses of Chardonnay. Well, from that Chardonnay family is a variety called Chardonnay, and it's actually a cross between a Chardonnay vine and a French Seyval Blanc vine. And the resulting offspring is called Chardonnay. This particular grape grows beautifully in the Midwest. And when you think about it, one of the things we learn in our lives is that, do what you do well. Well, in the Midwest, in Kansas particularly, it could be -5 degrees or 105. That's a big wide variance of temperatures to ask a plant to be able to thrive in. So Chardonnay vines don't do so well here. Chardonnay does very well. So let's just talk about how we make this wine and why I would choose to tell you about a white wine instead of maybe a red.
Okay.
These particular clusters, well, they're stunningly beautiful. That's one thing. And when we first started the vineyard and we planted the Chardonnay and we saw how well it did, oh my gosh. And plus we were excited. I mean, let's make some darn wine. We've waited, almost 4 years. Those clusters went right into the crusher destimmer, stainless steel tank, and the resulting wine was this bone dry, delicious, since it was finished in stainless, nice and clean finish white wine, fruity, but dry. Okay, so we decided to do a new version of the Chardonnay. So it's barrel fermented. So let me explain what we did that was different. Harvest day, pick the grapes at peak perfection, right? You bring the grapes down the hill to the winery, to the crush pad. Instead of going through the crusher destimmer, the full clusters stay together and go straight into the press.
Okay.
Extra gentle cycle so that free flow juice that comes out, that got pumped directly into oak.
Oh.
Okay. So the first version of the Chardonnay we do, those grapes are picked the same day, the same weather, the same winemaker, the same dirt, but it couldn't taste more different because crushed, pressed stainless steel, and the version I told you about, the barrel fermented, full berry clusters straight into the press, free flow juice into oak. All right.
Nice.
It's delicious. It's truly delicious. And one of the things I love to do most, and if you haven't done this, we're going to do it, sister.
Okay.
We'll taste those side by side.
Yeah.
Because if you ever have anyone that is not entirely sure the difference between stainless and oak, they'll be within 2 minutes. They will never forget it because it will be very obvious to them.
Sure. Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I wish you were open today.
Oh, yes. So now let's say we were talking about that stainless version. That might stay in the tank maybe 4 to 6 months. The oak version might sit in there for a full year.
Okay.
So it takes longer to make. That's okay. Then it's bottled, corked, capsuled, labeled, and then we can either sell it directly through the winery, or we could deliver it to liquor stores or to restaurants, or maybe our wine club. It's part of the wine club release. So there's a lot of steps even after we've made the wine. But I really think this Chardonnay example I gave you is just one of the most interesting ones to try. Both of these, back to back, and then you really understand the difference in winemaking.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to do the side by side. I'll have to get over there and do that. That would be wonderful. Okay, we said that we met in a yoga class, and this is Spandex and Wine. So I have to ask about your exercise regimen because you look amazing.
Holy smokes. Well, you're very nice to say that. Okay. So I got to tell you, I have switched up my fitness routine over the last few years. One of the things that's been a game changer for me has been resistance training. To me, it's a big deal. And I have to say, I had not taken advantage of that and taken the time to learn about that. But I'm sure glad I did, and it was not too late. In my, I thought, let's try it. Let's see how it goes. Everything I read says, hey, as you get older, you're losing muscle mass, and I didn't want to have extra weight that didn't help me in the way of fat, but I did want to have extra musculature to help me through anything that might happen as I aged.
Right.
So I spent about 3 years learning about resistance training. And the great thing I think I did, and what I love about what you do is, I got help and a trainer because it wasn't something I knew a lot about. And
Right.
sure enough, I never got injured. Sure enough, I had excellent results. And sure enough, we took a full body approach every day. And I hate to use the word addicted, but God, I mean, I missed it. If
Yes.
I get 3 or 4 times a week in, I mean, I felt like something was wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You notice it when
And
you don't have it.
you notice it when you don't have it. But okay, so I love that. I love it. But the thing I did also have to admit about myself was you noticed you never got a text from me that said, "Hey, Robin, let's go run 8 miles this morning. It's going to be so fun." No, no. I
Yeah.
know this about myself. I don't love that. And yet I know that getting my good cardio in is important too, not to the detriment of the resistance training, but I knew I needed to get some of that in there. Okay, so then guess what? I started doing it like in January. It's not quite a year. I'm like officially a pickleball addict. I mean, I love it. I play a couple hours a day. And when I say that, I mean, I do still work for a living. I play at 5:30 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow. That's early.
I do it because that way I haven't impacted anything else in my day. And, as a champion sleeper, I'm going to tell you the thing that surprised me most. There's never been a day that I had the opportunity to play pickleball that I didn't wake up before my alarm, no matter what time I had to play.
That's awesome. That is so important to find something that you absolutely love and enjoy.
Yeah. And plus I also learned it's not something I think I'm naturally good at. It requires things that are hard for me. Like I have to really focus. I have to relax under pressure.
Good.
Holy cow, that's a big deal. You
Yeah.
know, I got to be able to take and defend myself, balls at speed. I've taken balls to every part of my body. I mean, I wear here. You can the people on the podcast can't see me, but here I'm going to put on my
Oh my
pickleball
goodness.
glasses for you. See, I
Those are
play with
beautiful.
glasses so that if I get whacked in the head, there's no damage. So I have come to really love that, and I think it's a really approachable and wonderful sport. You can play year round, and not terribly expensive. Not a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it.
Oh, I'm so glad that you found it. It almost sounds like a moving meditation for you.
It's becoming that. It
Yeah.
wasn't the beginning because what I learned is that I felt so under pressure. I felt like I was going into war, like a battle.
Oh, okay.
And so now that I'm 8, 9 months in, now the calm is coming and I can focus and I can see through the ball and think through like a chess player the next few moves. Because I think when a ball is moving that fast at you, it's awfully easy to have a panic response.
Oh, sure.
And this is what I love about pickleball, man. You will learn to overcome your panic.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, and good for you for sticking with it long enough too, to get to that point.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And God, you get beat, you get whipped up on you. But I don't know. I mean, I feel here's my motto. Every day, just get a little less crappy. There you go. That's my motto. That's what I hold myself to. A little less crappy every day.
That's perfect. Okay. I might have to like put that on a Post-it note out in front of my desk or something.
Yes, yes, yes.
Good. All right. Okay. So given that you are surrounded by wine, you
Yeah,
love exercise, how do
yeah.
you find balance in your life between the two? I mean, you can't be drinking a lot of wine at night if you're going to get up and play pickleball at 5:30 in the morning.
Okay, so here's what I will tell you. I'm gonna I have thought a lot about this question you ask. I have truly believed that one of the best things we could do in Kansas City would be, one of our Kansas City magazines should do an article about people in the food and wine business who are around, I'll say temptation,
Yes.
beautiful food, amazing food, food and drink, all the time, and how do they do it? So I I I will enjoy a glass of wine at lunch if I'm on vacation, in a
Yes.
heartbeat, always. In the evenings, Dennis and I usually have a glass or two of red wine that I love.
Hmm.
And certainly, I'm not opposed to a rosé or a white wine, but it's rare that I would drink more than two glasses. But I will say this, I also try to make sure I'm drinking a ton of water, and I kind of
Yeah.
like that idea of the water in between wine.
Hmm.
Um, and I also, um, I try to be mindful if I'm at an event. You know how you tend to hold that glass of wine as you maneuver through the evening?
Yes.
I try not to do mindless drinking. It's something because you're so you're visually stimulated, you're having food, you're talking to people, it's so fun, and
Yes.
I try to just be aware, and um I think that really helps me, and I think it, you know I have alcoholic genes close to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, I mean, you're doing a great job on balancing it. You look great. You're doing a wonderful business. And just hats off to you. How can people find you?
Well, first, they're always invited to come to the winery, and we'll hopefully get you back out soon. Um, so I would say maybe go to somersetridge.com. You could
Mhm.
make a reservation, or you can just stop by. We will always love to have you.
Okay, wonderful.
Now, the other thing you could do is you could go into your favorite wine or liquor store.
Yes.
And if they don't have the wine, I would suggest just shouting out very loud, "Oh my gosh, you don't have Somerset Ridge?" But actually, we're in about 350 retail liquor stores here in the Midwest.
Wow.
And we're growing in restaurants. That's a good thing.
Mhm.
Um, and I think kind of there's a synergy when you have a small um, boutique winery. There's like a synergy between the agricultural experience you offer at the vineyard, having consumers be able to find your wine in retail liquor stores, and then the um the occasional high quality locally owned restaurant to have your wine supported there. That's a big deal.
Sure. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine how that would feel to go into a restaurant and see your wine there, go into the liquor store and see your wine.
It's
That's
a
very cool.
big, it's a big, it is a big deal, and such an honor. We love that. And um, there's a restaurant, there's quite a few restaurants in Kansas City. I'm thinking of one in particular, um, downtown Kansas City, Bluebird Bistro. And
Mhm.
they started carrying our wine over a decade ago, and they make a special chocolate cake out of our ruby port, and on the menu they call it their Somerset Ruby Port chocolate cake, and it is
Ah.
the most delicious, beautiful. It's like this. I mean, a slice could feed four people. It's that huge and amazing.
Hmm.
So then the real cool thing is when you go someplace and not only did they carry your wine, but they've made and integrated it as part of their menu.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. And personally, I am hoping that you still have Aphrodite because that would be fabulous with Thanksgiving. What
Super
holiday wines
fabulous.
what
Yeah.
holiday wines do you recommend?
Okay. Well, a couple things. Aphrodite, I love it. The wine you're referring to is a really nice dry rosé. It's made from our Cabernet Franc grapes. I too love it. I love it very much. In years past, it used to, when it would run out at the end of summer, like in September, I was always so sad.
Hmm.
Um, but I think we've convinced, my husband, my son, our winemaking team, that I'm sorry, but rosé could really be a year-round thing. If
Yes.
maybe we run out December, January, and bring it back for Valentine's, that's fine. But really, I think of it as a solid category that I'd like to see all year round. It does go great with a traditional type Thanksgiving meal.
Hmm.
The other thing that's amazing, and there's a big national movement, and it's cider at Thanksgiving. And
Okay.
that was one of the original drink, right? When with the Indians, with the early settlers coming in, and all the apples. So we make a hard cider called Lucky Dog hard cider, made
Hmm.
from three culinary apples that, of course, we source from our friends at the Lewisburg Cider Mill, just right down the road. So it's double local. Well,
Perfect.
it just won the silver medal at the International Seattle Cider Competition. That's a
Wow,
big deal.
congratulations. That's
Thank you.
great.
So it's bone dry, it's bubbly, it's fruity. It is really delicious, and I think that is another great thing to have at Thanksgiving.
Wonderful. Okay, one more question. I want to know about your wine club. What does that entail?
Oh, you're nice to ask. So we are very lucky. We now have over 350 families as part of our wine club.
Hmm.
And that is miraculous and wonderful. So this is maybe our third year. So what it entails, it's no charge to sign up. You become part of our Somerset Ridge Wine Club family. Quarterly, we release a 6 bottle release of wines. You can be in our sweeter wine club, the blended wine club, or the barrel club. But the truth is, if I'm your wine club concierge, and my job is to say yes. So when I'm talking to every one of these families, I'll say, hey, this is the list of wines that we think but how can I customize that for you? So for instance, with you, we'd change one variety and I'd add in extra Aphrodite. So by the time you get your 6 pack, whether you pick up or we ship it, it's exactly what you need and want, and something you'll enjoy. And um, it's great. Every time you're with us, you always get your wine club discount. Our wine club also gets invited to participate in Grape Harvest. And they're the ones who do events all the time. If you come to the winery and you see the new Vineyard House property at the top of the hill,
Yes, it's
that's really
beautiful.
oh, thank you. That's really kind of the wine club clubhouse. So they
Okay.
entertain up there. They host events. They um, do all kinds of things.
Wow. Ugh. Unfortunately, at the end of our conversation, I lost power and lost connection with Cindy. So we agreed that we would do this again. Here are the takeaways. A bad day in the vineyard is better than a good day in the courtroom, or insert your job. 2, your vision might grow bigger than you could ever imagine. If you build it, they will come. Then let it flow and see where it takes you. 3, a side-by-side comparison like during a wine tasting can give you a true appreciation for the winemaking process. Give it a try at Somerset Ridge Vineyard and Winery or at a winery close to you. 4, resistance training is a game changer when it comes to your fitness. 5, find a physical activity that you enjoy and you will want to get out of bed for. 6, all you have to do is be a little less crappy every day. 7, water between wine, and remember to drink mindfully. 8, give cider a try at Thanksgiving. A huge thank you to Cindy and Somerset Ridge Vineyard and Winery. I'll make sure I put all of the links in the show notes. Thank you for listening. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoy this podcast, it would mean so much to me if you take a few seconds to do each or all of the following. First, follow or subscribe to Spandex and Wine. It'll help you so you don't miss an episode, and it'll help me because you won't miss any episodes. To do this, you'll just go to the podcast, click subscribe or follow wherever you are listening. Look for the plus sign or follow button, and this is one of the best things that you can do for the podcast, so thank you. If you'd also be willing to give a 5-star review, that would be amazing. And lastly, please share an episode with a friend or 5 to keep the love going. I appreciate you. Thanks.